What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the J Squared podcast. Jesse, Kass and Jayson Williams back with you here. And Jayson, we got a great show once again. St. John's associate head coach Van Macon on the show. Part of your alma mater. You got the St. John's gear on right there. It's we're keeping it local here this week.
Well, let me tell you something. It's just not about St. John's. It's about college sports. It's about recruiting. It's about some crazy stories. It's a great, and how difficult it's going to be with the NIL ruling right now. So it's just not about St. John's today. It's about all college sports, some great stories. And Jesse, you did a great job moving us around. So I'm excited to see it, hear it, and let's go, brother. Yeah,
let's go. We talk about it all. Like Jay said, NIL, transfer portal, Madison Square Garden, the Mecca. Rats and cats. We got it all this week. So enjoy Van Macon here on the J Squared podcast. And now we're going to welcome in our guest here on the J Squared podcast, St. John's associate head coach, Van Macon. Van, thanks so much for coming on the show and joining us today.
Appreciate you guys having me. I'm excited about it.
And Jay, I know you're repping. You got the St. John's gear on.
Always.
I'll let you get started. You guys obviously know each other.
Man, first of all, it's looking kind of young on me, brother. Time for another delivery.
You'll be up here soon. I know he always makes me put a package together when he comes up. This is what I need.
Well, man, let me just tell you how this all came about to get you up early in the morning to do this. You know, my agent, best agent in the world, Robbie Kass, and you know Junie Smith, the one who labeled me all-star, actor, director, producer, filmmaker. Right, he was like, we got to get Van on. We got to get Van on. Now, you remember, Junie Smith is the one who came up with the line way back in the day, good morning, Vietnam. Good morning, Vietnam. There's only two brothers in there, Forrest Whitaker and Junie Smith. He came up with that line, you know what I'm saying? Now he'd be like, damn, all-star, you said that on the air? That's his line now. So I appreciate you coming on, brother.
No. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Hey, Jesse, before you get going, and let's make Van feel relaxed because, right now, I know his wife set up everything for him. He's ready to go. But this is where you come to lose your job at St. John. So we had Oakley on last week, and he gave a prediction, and he said the Bills were going to win. And then we had a bunch of people calling up and say, hey, man, can Oak give me another prediction? I said, man, I'm a treatment center. That's where they come for gambling, drugs, and alcohol. You can't do that. So you got to relax Oak to get him into what he has going on. But so we did a good job of relaxing him. But still, just to say, 1-800-GAMBLER has never sent anybody to treatment. So we're still waiting on that. But just to say this, have you guys seen the Netflix True Story with Kevin Hart? It's a series right now. Now, Netflix makes some good stuff. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Man, let me tell you something. Kevin Hart never gives me a shout out. Never. He's always with the big time guys. But the first 4 minutes of that was so powerful when he's talking about what he has to do when his back is up against the wall. Was so powerful, man. For a comedian, and the way he played that role, kudos to Kevin Hart. Coach Van, if you haven't seen it, there's two things that a comedian has given me. That line right there reminded me what you got to do when your back is up against the wall. And the other one was from George Wallace, who told me, don't ever get on a flight that's numbered 50-50. So Kevin Hart put it in it. He put his foot in it on that Netflix True Story.
Yeah, for sure. I'll have to check that out.
It was good. That was the one with Wesley Snipes, right?
Yeah. And he did something when he get Wesley Snipes to put some lotion on his hands. All right, man, you relax now. I'll let Jesse ask the tough question.
No, it won't be too tough. But Van, I know you're a New York area guy, just like Jayson. Just first off, this is going into your fourth year at St. John's. What does it mean to be at St. John's? You coached in the Big East before as well, but being at one of the legendary local area schools and trying to build that program back up to where it was when you guys were growing up.
Honestly, it's a dream come true. I mean, I grew up 10 minutes from St. John's, watching St. John's. Everything was St. John's growing up. St. John's was as big as the Knicks. when I was growing up. It was just so when I had the opportunity to come home, it was something I just couldn't say no to. And trying to rally the New York people back behind the program has been fun. It's been interesting. It's been a little challenging, but it's I'm coaching basketball, so I mean, how hard is it, right?
Yeah, and you've got the 3 years you've been there. Team has had a winning season 4 years in a row, but all 3 years you've been there, you guys have been over 500. Just what's that process been like, getting this team going, and especially in your eyes, the recruiting and getting New York players back into the scene?
It's been, I think we've been received really well. If you look at our roster, it's probably the most New York high school kids since the times when Jayson played. People have been great to us, and now it's time for us to kind of turn the corner and prove that the faith in us was warranted. So, it's a great time. College athletics is completely out of whack right now. So we're all trying to figure out half of what's going on day to day. But, it's a challenge, but I love it because it's at home and I get to be around people I've been around my whole life. So I'm enjoying it.
And you mentioned growing up right next to St. John's. Obviously, you got a guy right here who started at St. John's and went on to the NBA and be an all-star. What do you remember from watching Jayson and just seeing that develop? Another New York area guy who took off at St. John's.
I remember Jayson being a hard worker, being a dude who was crazy, yelling at everybody on the court, always screaming at everybody. I know a whole lot more stories now after the fact, because we have a mutual mentor in Ron Rutledge. So Ron gives me all kinds of stories. We ain't gonna get to them. But I'm only 2 years behind Jayson. So I saw Jayson at Christ the King. A good friend of mine, some good friends of mine were at Christ the King when he was there. So I would go watch games. And his growth from the time he was at high school to the time he got to college, that's the New York City story. I mean, that's what we're selling. A guy who maybe wasn't as heralded as some other people comes to St. John's, hometown hero, and then, turns out to be an NBA All-Star and having a hell of a basketball career. And that's what we're selling to the New York kids, today.
Hey, Jesse, just to show you something here, I got all my St. John stuff here. And if I stand up, I don't know if you can see this, I got on my Christ the King stuff here, right?
You got the full fit.
I always thought, I said, man, won't we just go to my high school if we always rank top 20 and just in high school, just get them all to come to St. John's, and St. John's be ranked top 20. And I'm glad, let me just tell you a story, man. I had to check when I looked down there because people always make fun of me. I did the Don Lemon show way back when I first got out, got out of my state for 27 months. And Don Lemon, right, and this is my first interview in a long time, right? As soon as the lights hit, boof, came on. I looked down, Don ain't had on no pants. I was like, I just started sweating. I was like, what the hell? What am I on right now? Is this really CNN? Like, because I had an uncle, he was cross-eyed, and when we used to play poker with my dad, he came out the bathroom one time, right, and he just zip up his stuff, and his stuff was hanging out, and my dad was like, Ike, right? Ike, look, looking down, pointing down to him, and he said, Ike, he crossed it, oh, look at that, the damn bull on got out the stable. so I thought, looking at Don Lemon with no pants on, and this makes him relax when he's doing the show. I hope I don't get in no trouble with Don Lemon because I love him. And but it was sure I was sitting there sweating, and he kept going during the commercial break. Man, I got you sweating like a what in church, and I'm like, yeah, because you're naked. So hey, I'm so glad that we have the ability to deal with one of the greatest high schools, and what Van has been able to do for St. John's University, along with Mike Anderson and the rest of the coaching staff, Jesse, is that bring the New York kids back. Bring them back and sell them on Madison Square Garden, sell them on Conococheco Arena, sell them on New York City. And a lot of those doors were closed to us, but Van is doing a great job as the head associate coach with Mike Anderson of bringing all these these players back.
And Jason, you mentioned something that I wanted to touch on for both of you guys. Madison Square Garden. It's
Right.
you guys have the home arena with St. John's, but also really the second home with Madison Square Garden, the mecca of basketball. Just what's that like from your perspective to be there so often, to have that be a second home court and play in one of the best arenas of all time?
Well, Coach Carnesecca used to say, "Hey, I'm going to put your ass in Macy's window." Now, what you do with that is up to you. So, like, that was the biggest recruit. We have players that go on to other universities, and then they what they do at Grayson Block, put your picture on something in Photoshop. You winning a championship and you doing all that, and you're gonna be playing in this arena where nothing else is going on. The best thing going on is a Wawa. This is New York City, and when you winning in New York City, right? And not to take anything away from any other college or any other city, but if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. And I think I created that line. But this is a true story. So when it's going well at St. John's, like we are building and building and building right now. And, look, I saw the Pope come to St. John's and kiss Coach Carnesecca's ring. That's the true story.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to tell you something else, man. Coach, you better win this year because the Vatican is watching. And you seen that Tom Hanks movie? What's the name of that movie? The Da Vinci Code. Brother, y'all don't win this year. Oh, Lord.
I'm not worried about the Vatican. I'm worried about all you crazy St. John's alums. I'm worried about y'all in the Vatican.
No, but you know what, Van? It is about winning, and you guys have been winning since you've been here. But you've been putting out such a good product, man. You're putting out good people, man. Julian Champagne just left. You got Posh. I watched Posh read my book, and I had to send him down. You're putting out good human beings. And that's very important, and they're graduating. So, when we look at it at St. John's, we're not one and done. And look, now that we're on this podcast, and now this is before Van got here, right? I remember going to recruit a kid that was from the Lower East Side, and it was kind of sketchy. He said, I said, "Hey, man, I guess I do it. We used to do at St. John's as a pro. We talked about this last week with Oakley. So I gave him I said, hey, man, this is your mom. Then here you go, $15,000. You're going to go to St. John's. You're going to be doing all right." He said, "Okay, man." He said, "That's good." He said, hey, cuz, you going to be back next week? I said, "No, man, I got to go back to work. I ain't going to be back down there." He said, "Well, who's going to pay me next week?" I said, "What? I just give me my damn money back." So, but we do it the right way. And now I really don't know how, they're going to be able to do it, because I'm so confused right now with the new NIL rules. How do you recruit? How do you keep up with the people? Look, before we had Madison Square Garden, right, Van? We had great coaching. We have a great tradition, a great graduation rate at St. John's, the most diverse university in the country, right? But, I'm confused, man, how you going to do it with these new rules, because, it ain't like it was in the old days.
No, it's this whole thing has changed, and everybody, some schools have got it figured out. Some schools are trying to figure it out. It's just it's another roadblock. But the thing I say is we all got the same roadblock. So we all got the same problem. So we all need to figure it out as best we can. And we've been able to help the guys in some ways. They've gotten some deals and things of that nature, but we just need to get better. We need more people to put into our collective, and because it's the first question kids ask now when you're recruiting them. They used to ask about playing time and degree, and now the first question is NIL. They don't even get to all that other stuff until like the 8th or 9th question. So so it's different. It is surely different, and we're trying to figure out how to navigate it. I mean, that's the best we can do.
And Van, what's the recruiting process like in general, even without the NIL stuff before that? I know you can't talk about specifics with players, but when you're going to meet someone or you're traveling to watch a kid play, just what's that process like for you as a coach?
The process has now been sped up because now we're starting to recruit kids. I had to count today. I'm my 28th year in coaching, which is amazing because I'm only 40 years old, but it's my 28th year in coaching. And I think back to what it was when I started, and you started recruiting maybe juniors at the beginning of their junior year, and you would follow them, and, you wouldn't offer them a scholarship really until maybe the summer of their senior year and going into their senior year. Now we're offering kids who are ninth graders, and we got to go watch them and follow them. And it's social media. Everything, all this stuff is all over the place. And people see, oh, you offered Joe over here, but you didn't offer Jimmy over here. Well, Joe is better. You got to offer Jimmy now. And you got to offer Roger over here and Reggie back there. And it's like, well, I might not like Roger and Reggie, but no, if you want to recruit my other kid, you got to offer both of them. And I'm like, damn, it's out of whack. I don't know how they get it back. I think it's just something that we're all going to deal with and just figure it out as we go along.
Do they still give scholarships? Like, do you still have a certain amount of scholarships? Because if you had, GMC come in and offer you guys, from Greenbrook, hey, we're going to, sponsor Posh this year now, but we want to pay his for him to go to school also. Do you still have to use that as a scholarship, or can you use that on someone else if somebody was to pay for him to go to school, Van?
So his scholarship obviously is covered by the university. So if GMC wanted to come in and do something with Posh, they would directly give Posh into his account, a direct deposit into his account of money, whatever money they came up with, whatever they agreed to is fits into what they're trying to get out of him. And then he would have to do some kind of social media or appearances, or, last year Julian did an appearance with Mercedes, and Mercedes paid him. He did some stuff with Mercedes-Benz. It's these kids now are so, and I don't believe some of the numbers that people put out. I know some of the numbers people put out are just outrageous, and I don't believe that, but all of it, I know some people maybe, but I think now people just throwing numbers out and they don't care. And, the kids will get there and be like, well, damn, you told me I'm supposed to get 100. Well, there's $100, not 100,000. I think everybody's scamming everybody else. Right. Eventually, we're going to figure out, well, damn, this ain't right. So, we don't do it that way. I could never tell somebody we can do this for you and then can't do it, because I still got to walk. I still hang out in my old neighborhood. Shit, I can't mess around until I get knocked out my head. So it's different. It's different. I ain't gonna say it's better or worse. I'm just gonna say it's different.
Yeah, and Jay, you've talked about social media on our first couple of episodes, just how much different it is today than it was back in your playing days. Van, for you and seeing these kids, you touched on it a little bit, but just the aspect you're seeing these kids not only through social media, but some of them are social media stars when they're in 9th, 10th grade. Some of them have huge followings. How do you navigate that when you're looking at players and just that aspect where they might be famous already when you're trying to get them at age 16, 17, 18?
Yeah. It's so I'm not a big social media person. So the other guys check people's social media, because if I see something I don't like, I might be like, I ain't messing with this dude no more. So they keep me in check with
thanks for doing this show anyway. If we're recruiting a kid and he puts something up, or one of our players puts something up that's not appropriate, then they may say, hey, you got to call such and such, man, and tell them you got to take that down, or you got to explain to them. And we have social media training at the beginning of the year, every year, because you get new guys every year talking about the do's and don'ts. And now social media can make or cost you money because of NIL. So we got to have that conversation, man. If you posting this and this and this, people ain't gonna want to give you no bread. So they're learning that. It's on the job training for them.
it's helping them, I guess, for the next step, whatever the next step is going to be after St. John's. But yeah, I try not to mess with it. Instagram and all this. I do got a Twitter account, but I've never sent a tweet. Actually, our operations guy sends all my tweets for me. If there's a tweet that goes out, it was never for me because I don't even know how to do the damn thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
But Jesse,
yeah,
it is different. You know, look, not to take anything away from any coaching staff, but back in the day, there was only like Van can still say anything and walk anyway because he's Van. You know, Van knows what, you know, when to cross the street, when to walk across the street, when to get into something. Van is a New Yorker, but Van them got about 20 coaches. Right, so he got a gang already. But see, when we were playing, we only had 3 coaches: Coach Carnesecca, Brian Mahoney, and Ron Rutledge. And one day there was a discrepancy on my SAT scores. They thought I scored too high on the SAT scores. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a good test taker. You know, I didn't know when we got to the vocabulary section what the word meant or the 4 choices. So, you know, they told me you get 200 points for putting your name on it, and you needed a 660 to play. So I signed my name on it 4 times. I said, that's 800 points, walked out the door and had to sit up my first year. This is a true story, right? So Ron was like, hey, man, we got to go tell your dad about this. I said, Coach Rutledge. No, y'all ain't coming to my house. You know, this is the way we did it back in the day. I said, my dad worked, you know, 3 jobs, got 3 construction. He got a gas station in Harlem. He laid brick. When he get home, he tired. I said, so don't come there. I'll tell him myself. Coach Mahoney and then Coach Carnesecca said, no, we gonna come, Ron. We gotta come through there. So I looked at Ron and said, look here, Ron. I said, you take your chances if you want. You come to the Lower East Side if you want. You're gonna have some smoke, you know? And this is a true story. So I had my brother, everybody go downstairs, you know, Eddie, B, everybody, B Young, everybody, get in front of the door. Get in front of the front door. Don't let them come up. You know, they say they're going to be here at 6 o'clock. My dad get home 5:30, take a shower, eat a steak, then he go to bed, right? Got to get up at 4. So all of a sudden, right, I'm looking out, I'm on the 24th floor. I see about 45 guys guarding it. I go, all right, they guard the front door. We good, because you need an intercom to get in. I'm like, woo, they ain't going to make it. Then I hear, ding dong. I go, oh my God. I ran to the door and I opened up the little slide. He's looking through it, and I could see Ron Rutledge looking through the peephole like this. And I said, oh God. So I'm trying to smother the door. So the ding dong sound like this, ding dong. Right. So my dad is like, who's at the door, Dad? Who's at the door, Jason? And I was like, it ain't nobody. I heard the doorbell. I'm like smothering it to please God to go away. And then Coach started knocking on the door. And I'm like, Daddy, it's just some Jehovah's Witness. So he come out. My dad always had on BBDs and, you know, and a tank top. And he come out and said, Jason, open the door. And he opened the door, and it was Ron Rutledge, Coach Mahoney, and Coach Carnesecca. And my dad said, oh, hold on, Coach. Let me go put on some pants. True story. And they sat down there, and we started talking. And Coach Carnesecca was the greatest. This is how he got me to go to St. John's. He made my father feel comfortable by speaking about sports, about baseball, or United, the Negro League. So they're sitting down, and they start talking about the Negro League. I said, well, maybe they ain't going to bring up their SATs. Maybe it's all right. Maybe Coach Rutledge and Coach Mahoney just came to scare me. So my dad just looked down. He said, well, you know, looked down and said, well, getting kind of late. Anything else I can do for y'all? And he said, well, there's one more issue. It's about Jason in the SAT score. He scored mighty high. My daddy said, well, he mighty smart at times. Some other times he might be a little flinky, but he sometimes he get it right. So all of a sudden, then he says, but everything was okay with the test, right? And he looked at me and I said, he said, Jason, everything was all right with the test, right? I said, yes, sir, Daddy, everything was all right. He said, I know that. I said, my son messed up on a lot of things, but I know he ain't messed up on this one because I brought him to the school, and it was Franklin K. Lane. And he brought me to the school, and he waited for me to come out. And I came out 4 hours later. He said, how'd you do? I said, I aced it, Daddy. And he was like, all right. And then it was the proudest moment when I was going to go to St. John. He said, all my kids went to college, but you're going to be the one on television. And so Ron Rutledge was looking at me, and he said, with a deep voice, he says, hey, Jay, enough is enough. He said, you got to tell your daddy about this test you took. And I was like, and I said, my daddy said, what you mean the test? Jayson, you ain't take that? What? Okay. Then he gets into the plural. Okay, Luz. Okay, Brian. Ron, I'll catch up with y'all. And he closed the door. And then what usually happened was he give you a little time to think about it. Then he go prepare, whatever you got to prepare for you. And that was the longest wait. But this time it took him a long time. And he came out to me and he said to the chief, sat down on the couch, and I thought I was gonna get it, and he just said, Jayson, you disappointed me, man. And those words right there infuriated me so much. And I went back to St. John's the next day and said, look, I know I got to be red-shirted this year, but I said, I'm going to come to this school, but I'll never step foot in this gym again. This is a true story. So Ron Rutledge was like, okay, no problem. And what used to kill me was Ron used to come up to every class I come in and peek his head in and Coach Mahoney to see if I'm in class. But I never went to the gym. So a whole year, they recruited a 6'7", 173-pound, small forward shooting guard. I grew and put on weight. And when I finally did come back to the gym, I was 6'9", 233. So now I messed up the whole recruiting process, right? Because look, hey, and we can go into social media. If something, I remember we had the best class, man. We had Moses Scurry. We even had Orlando Lewis. We had five-star athletes coming in. And we even had Gary Payton. Gary Payton was coming. Gary Payton hate me to this day when I come to St. John. I'm like, Gary, I love you, one of the best players ever. I had nothing to do with that. We'd have won a championship with Gary Payton. But Gary Payton had signed to come to St. John's, and then he didn't end up coming to St. John's, and not on his stuff. I think he sent his daughter here, and she got a great education. But just imagine we would have had Gary Payton also. But this is how we dealt with it before. Now, if Van was to look at a young man right now and say, I'm going to go talk to your daddy, they'll look at him and say, brother, please. And then, I'm serious. And then they'll say, you go do that, I'll transfer. There was no words. There was no vocabulary for that back in the day. There was no transfer. You going to St. John's, and you were going to get your degree, and you were going to stay there 4 years, and your parents going to be involved in the university. And the alumni were going to keep you there. And there was never no, but now Van is dealing with people who get sneakers brand new when they 7 and 8 years old to play on AAU teams. Time he get them, they so entitled you can't do nothing with them. You agree with that, Van? I don't get you in no trouble.
Jay, you would never get anybody in trouble. We know that.
I think, hey man, I think since we got the Hall of Fame speech coming on, I think that's why they booked this, to see where my mind is.
It's got a window into that.
but they don't have nothing to worry about. I'm very aware of the Vatican.
But Jay, that's a good segue though, into talking about, the recruiting process and players, and just touching on what Jay said, Van. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Some kids, don't have that father figure. It's not the way it used to be, and could be a little difficult. But some kids don't have a mother or father. They don't have anybody at home. They're raised by a coach or this guy or that or uncle or. So I think that's a society problem. That ain't a basketball problem. I think it's we all need to do better at trying to help stay involved with our children and help raise them and do the best we can. And they used to say, communities used to raise kids. When I was playing in front of my house and my ball hit somebody's window, the neighbor came out and they came and told my mother, and there was going to be a problem if that happened. Somebody hit somebody's house today and you came and told their mother might want to fight you because, man, don't come over here and talk about my kid. It's just a whole nother, it's just another layer to what's making, I think, life a little more difficult. Forget about college basketball. That's a small part of what's going on. We just need to do a better job with these kids, man, and helping these kids understand what's right and wrong and how to grow up.
And Jesse,
yeah,
Jesse, one more thing Van touched on, and you guys did, the social media. We didn't have that back in the day. You know, kids right now take vanity over sanity. You know, right now they're more worried about how they look, what other people think about them, and then they got the pressure. You know, now everybody's their own station. You know, before you get to the newspapers, you get the Newsday, the Post, the Daily News. I think we got 43 newspapers in the tri-state area. You know, that was big then. Now guys are controlling their own content, right? And if you say something or do something, they don't like it, they're in their own network. So, you know, it's very difficult to coach, you know, when people are going for likes. I'm like Van, you know, I don't mess with social media because I'm a more tangible person. You know, I like with me and you to have a conversation. When somebody hit me with 3 exclamation points, it throw me crazy because I'm like, well, now what that mean? You know, how do we, you know, how they talking to me? But today the kids are so, you know, they come down to rebound for most of the time because of sleep deprivation, and they got to start using drugs and alcohol because of social media. And now you got online gambling, which to them is not real, it's like a video game. You got people connected to their phone. You imagine right now if Coach Van, the head associate coach at St. John's University, the most famous university, right, Catholic university in the world, was to ask anyone on the team, even the 12th man, to put their telephone for 4 hours, he would have to do a Ron Rutledge. Because they're not giving it up. You know, that's their line. We come down here and we watch so many people at rebound. And we say, you got to give up your phone for me. Oh my God, my phone, that's my everything. You know, but that's the same stuff, you know, what Van was saying. Look, moms do a great job raising kids. Grandmas do it. It's been going on forever. You know, our communities. But right now, the world is so different because they're putting pressure on people who don't care about them. You know, what I've learned as I'm more mature in my life is that I have a group of friends and they love me. I'm down here at Rebound and I'm helping people through the grace of God get off of drugs and alcohol through outdoor adventure therapy. After we leave, we're throwing somebody out of an airplane. They just came from church. And this is the way to take them out their comfort zone, and then we'll process it, you know. And these are the things that I love doing. And it keeps me away from social media. It keeps me away from people who don't have my best interests. Because right now, you know, God gave me some friends in the beginning and some families, and I don't want my family calling me because they watch this podcast now. But, you know, I get to create my own group of family members and stuff like that. And it's almost not a bubble, but people that are positive, people that are sober, people that are rooting for me. And these kids here are so concerned, Van, with people that don't even know them. And so when they come down to us, we really have to convince them, these people don't even know you. What you're worrying about it for? So it's difficult. Ask coach, ask them for their phone. You know, you ain't getting the phone. You know, you're not getting it. Yeah, you got a better chance of getting pregnant.
Meals. You know, when we have team meetings, they got to put them away. When we got meals, they got to put them away. Can't be on your phone. Because if we have a team meal and there's 15 guys there, all 15 of them, none of them will talk to each other. They'd all play with the phone instead of having a conversation with each other. Now, when we were growing up, we sat down in here, we was cutting up. We was picking on this one and this one's picking on us, and we cracking jokes, and dude might throw some food at somebody. Like, we would have a good time with that. Hey, we sitting down having a meal. But now today, if you don't take that from them, those kids won't even speak to each other. They'll be busy playing with the phone and doing this and doing that. It's you know, it's the times that we live in.
Yeah, I can attest to that too. You know, when I'm announcing with LMU and traveling with the team, they have the same thing with, you know, put the phones away at meal, because if not, you'll see everyone just kind of like staring down like this. And like you said, if you don't have it, and then you can tell the difference when the phone's away during the meal, then everyone's talking, they're laughing, they're having a good time. But if not, head down on the phone and just kind of zoned out.
Yeah.
Well, I think that hurts you because you can't read somebody's body language. You know, back in the day when we walked down the street, man, we looked at somebody walk down the street, we like, well, we better cross the block. You know, sometimes, you know, if you don't cross the street, you better change your walk. You know, now these kids right here, because they just dealing them on this computer, boom, 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 and they all studio gangsters and bullying people. Now they just hey, boom, yeah, bumped over the head, and it relates in basketball. It's like nobody has that swag no more. Like I remember coming in and seeing like the great ones like Gary Payton come into play, or even Moses Scurry, who, these guys came in, when they came in the building, you looked at them, you go, we're going to have our hands full today, Now everybody come in, like 6'9", everybody come in like, oh, we're going to have some fun today. Back in the day was like, you better bring your game, you better not get dunked on, and it didn't matter. You better have a good one, because your friends in your neighborhood that loved you, they cared about you, they told you, hey man, you got your behind kicked today. And it hurt you more because they were the people that loved you. But what it did for me was, I'm never gonna let that happen again. I'm gonna get faster, stronger, I'm gonna learn to go left, I'm gonna get better. I don't wanna get embarrassed just because of the people that I loved and cared about me. We didn't have that option of a young man having 5 million tweet viewers or whatever we do on social media.
Yeah, and Van, tying in that back into the recruiting thing, we mentioned the transfer portal as well, which has become more and more prevalent as the years have gone on. How do you navigate and deal with that, where, like Jayson said, that wasn't really a factor even 10, 20 years ago, but now you have guys who not only can they leave and go somewhere else, but they'll be eligible to play immediately. So there's kind of that draw to, if I'm not getting minutes, then I'm gone right away, rather than, work my way up and do what I need to do to get a spot.
Yeah, I think when the transfer portal first hit, everybody lost their minds. All the coaches were like, "Oh hell no!" I think we were all like, "Man, this not gonna work." But as now, and I'll speak for myself personally, as we've now got into it, I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. If you're the 10th man and you think you should be the 6th man and you want to go somewhere else, then I guess you're gonna go somewhere else. If I recruited you, I'm gonna keep it honest with you. I'm gonna tell you what it is. I'm gonna tell you what you need to do to get better, what you need to do to get on the court, to earn Coach Anderson's trust. And if you can't do that and you want to go somewhere else, then it is what it is. We'll just have to go get somebody else's guy and replace you with somebody else's guy. They're gonna replace our guy, and we're all just swapping. Everybody's just sharing dues now. This year, interestingly enough, we were one of only maybe 7 or 8 Power 5 schools, Power 6 schools with the Big East, that didn't have a transfer, which was, I think a testament to, one, the university. I think the kids like going to school there. 2, Coach Anderson, they like playing for him. And 3, it's still New York. For good, bad, or ugly, there ain't no place in the world like New York. I don't care what anyone says. There's no place like it. I don't care. And I don't care what borough. Every borough's like its own city. It's got a different vibe to it. And we have a lot of local guys, so they get to be around their friends and family that they grew up with. And it's so far it's been okay. We haven't, at least this past year, we didn't get crushed with it. We didn't have any defections.
Yeah, and one thing that ties in with St. John's in New York is, you mentioned being in the Big East Conference, which outside of Syracuse going to the ACC has pretty much avoided a lot of the conference realignment that we've seen throughout the country. What's it like being in the Big East in such a historic conference with the rivalries, the intense matchups, and then of course time back to the Garden as well, the conference tournament at the end of the year in Madison Square Garden, just that history and playing in the Big East?
The best thing about it is it ain't football. For us, the best thing about the Big East is there's no football. And when I talk to parents, I promote that. Listen, I don't care what school in the ACC, SEC, Pac-12, whatever it is, if they got football, you second fiddle pretty much all the time. Like, nobody want to see you until January. They ain't want to deal with it. If something needs to be done, if money needs to be poured into something, football gonna get it first. When I was at Rutgers, we were like, oh, we need a new scoreboard, but the stadium needs bathrooms. Well, the stadium got bathrooms. We ain't get a new scoreboard. Like it was. That's just what it was. It wasn't. Football was going to get the first, second, third, and fourth thing, and then they fall down to basketball. With the Big East, that ain't the case. We're all basketball schools. We're the sport of choice on campus. Everybody knows our guys. They don't have to share the spotlight. If you like the pressure of it, it's great. If you don't like the pressure, you're going to wilt, but that's what it is. And then obviously we culminated playing at the Garden, and it's the longest running conference tournament in college sports at the Garden. And when the Garden is rocking, can't nobody touch it. I mean, it's just when the Big East tournament rolls in, the whole city's on fire. And I don't care who you're a fan of, whether it's St. John's, UConn, Georgetown, the whole city's on fire. And everybody knows it. Everybody trying to get into the Garden. So it's for us, it's great. You know, we get on the bus and go down to the Garden. We ain't got to be like Creighton to somebody else and fly in and do all the, you know, for me, it's a dream come true. I still get chills every time I walk in the Garden. We practiced there last week. Go up in that damn service elevator. I get goosebumps every time I get into that service elevator. It'd be smelling and crazy and everything else. But you're in the Garden, man. There ain't nothing. I've coached in a whole bunch of different places, and you don't get that feeling anywhere else.
Well, since we talk about the Garden, I got a story. Coach Carter Secker, has been 95 years old for 90 years, right? I love him to death. He says it all the time. He says, Jay, you my favorite. So I give that over Chris Mullen all the time. But we had this recruit in. His name was Chuck Sprawling, great player, scored 100 points in college. So Coach used to love to practice at the Garden, Jesse, like at 7 o'clock in the morning. Now, I can tell you right now, I'm one of the few people had to been in the Garden to practice at 7 o'clock in the morning. So we brought the recruit with us. Now, you imagine waking up a recruit this day and age, man, at 7 o'clock in the morning to show them anything, But at 7 o'clock, so we brought him and then all of a sudden, we running up and down the court with the great Malik Sealy, Boo Harvey. We running up and doing all this stuff, Shelton Jones. And what you don't know about the Garden is, before they clean up, there's about 80 cats that live in Madison Square Garden. I can say this now because they give me a hard time because me and Charles Oakley friends anyway. They threw my boy at the Garden, so they always asking for my damn ticket. I love the Garden, but I know I'm gonna forever have problems as long as that owner's there. But so man, make sure when you leave my ticket, all right, make sure don't leave it on the phone. I need it on my. I need it in my hand because I'm not IT. I'll be looking for it. I'll be already out. But let me just say, so you have 60, 70, 80 cats running around the court while we doing a 3-man weave, and they're chasing the rats because you're on top of the subway. They're eating all the hot dogs and popcorns in there. So like Chuck Spaulding walked in and was like, what? He was like, oh, I'm running. We were used to it. But most of the time, the rats were eating the cats. That's how big the rats are. Just imagine if you live in Madison Square Garden, all the hot dogs, the beers you drinking, you got drunken rats, drunken cats, and they just fighting while we running down the court. I remember Ron Rutledge and Brian Mahoney, and this kid was in shell shock. Chuck was like, man, I never seen a rat, and he was from Colorado. He's like, I'm not a rat that big. He thought it was a raccoon, but so, that's a tidbit I had to throw in there. And then the other thing, man, I thought we should do, when it used to be the lap check tournament we always won, but I was thinking, what can we do to get even more of our alumni back? Get everybody come back to a game, and maybe like we should let some of our alumni coach like a practice game and let us take over your job and Coach Anderson's job and see how hard it really is to do it. And then we'll stop complaining about, we should have did this and be a Monday night quarterback or Tuesday morning quarterbacks or whatever you want to call it. But I think we tried that, didn't we? Did we give an alumni coach a job?
I think we did. We did.
We love it, man. I got a bunch of chops whenever I can. But, you guys are doing a great job, man. I wouldn't know. Look, I'm down here through the grace of God saving lives. So when I take a kid's phone, I take an adult's phone. We're doing outdoor venture therapy. We have our doctor. We're looking at people. We're doing this kind of stuff. It's for real. I don't know and I have to meet them where they're at rebound. I don't know if I remember Tariq Turner, who does all the TV and radio and is on the board. I remember we were all sitting at dinner, and I remember Mike Craig, who's doing a great job right now, with all the sports, with JoJo, with volleyball, because you guys and the First Lady and Coach Anderson and Paige, Mike Craig's wife, all you guys are making them go to all the sports. Not making them, we all supporting, volleyball, baseball, football, and lacrosse, everything that we have booked back in, all these other sports, fencing, we are all supporting them. So we just don't go to the basketball games. I think this year was our best year of fundraising. We as Catholics, we ain't supposed to say that because we always gonna need more money. So we gotta keep building. But let me tell you something, quit building so many buildings and start getting some money to this NILS. and we'll be on the top of the charts. But go ahead, man. Go ahead before I get you in any more trouble. But I just wanted to tell you that it is so difficult for what you guys are doing, and people don't understand it, dealing with the thin skin of the players today than what you were dealing with back and forth. So I know firsthand because Van and Coach Anderson have me come up every year and speak to them. And then you can see where kids are fragile, and then you get them going. But the thing is, Coach Carnesecca used to say, today a peacock, tomorrow a feather duster. You got to bring it every single day. And then they all depend on what their phone says, and that's how, they go by. If their phone says like, then boom, that's what they're doing that day. If their phone says thumb down, that's how they're reacting. And you got to meet them. Like you just said, man, you yell at a kid today, you might go to jail. You yell at a kid today, they definitely transferring. So you are definitely dealing with people. You have to deal with people with white gloves on right now, and it's very difficult. And I just want to tell you that you guys have won every year you've been here, and we're looking forward to a great year. And I'm most proud to be a part of St. John's, because not just the diversity that we have, not just the fundraising, the Bill Janet checks that we have on board. I still wish we would put J. Cole on our board, because J. Cole, the rapper, he went to St. John's. There'd be some nice diversity on our board. You guys are doing everything right. And I know at the end of the day, the way my dad felt when he told me, and my mom, they said, the only thing you ever owe me is your education. And I think that's what you're building with the parents right now, is that even if the kids don't go to the NBA, they have networked around St. John's with 30,000 students, and everybody. I walked down in Florida with St. John's, and nobody would recognize me if I had on the Nets. But I got on St. John's. Hey, I went to St. John's class of 62, class of 85. I was there in 1888 with Coach Carnesecca. And I'm like, whoa, so, they're so proud to be a part of St. John's, and you guys are making men and women. And Coach Joe is doing a great job with the women's program. You were making, it's just St. John's a family. When I get there, Jesse, I go shoot on the basketball court. I feel great. Now you bring me to the Brooklyn Arena, I'm sweating bullets. It's like being on Don Lemon show again, But at St. John's, they always make us feel like family. And I know that Coach has the players over their house. And then, that is what college basketball is about. It is that family. And that's what we do down here at Rebound also. I took that from St. John's University is what I learned.
Yeah. And Van, before we let you go, just looking forward to this next season. What can the St. John's fans, the basketball fans out there, expect from your team, kind of style you guys going to play, and just, looking forward to your schedule coming up for this upcoming season, which is right around the corner?
Yeah, well, style is not going to change. Coach is going to run, he's going to press, he's going to trap. That ain't going to change. I don't care who we got in this. If Jason came back right now, Jason be out there trapping a ball screen right now. And that's what it's going to be. So we're going to get up and down the court. We're going to try to make it exciting for the fans, and the kids like playing that way. It's a fun way for them to play. And we got a challenging schedule. Obviously, you got the Big East schedule, which is always going to be a monster. We got Florida State down at a neutral site game in Florida. We're in the Barclays with Temple, Richmond, and Syracuse. We got to go to Iowa State, which I've never been to, but I heard is a hell of a hard place to play. And I can only imagine those places where they ain't got nothing but sports, college sports, those are the hardest joints to go into. We got Nebraska coming to us and some other games. So it's an exciting time. We're looking forward to it. We're getting past, I shouldn't say we're out of it, but we're almost past all this pandemic stuff where people can get back together and sit next to each other without looking at each other cross-eyed. And, so I'm looking forward to having a great year with these guys.
Well, Van, we appreciate the time. Good luck in this upcoming season. We'll definitely keep tabs on how St. John's is doing, but we really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Van, thank you. And Van, don't forget the package. It's looking kind of young on me.
Jess, I'm going to get a text after this with all the requests of what he wants when he shows up in the bag, just so you know.
I love you, man. Pass my love around, brother. All right.
Thanks, guys.